Actually started with BMW, so I had to sell my E46 M3 back then, and that was essentially the seed money that I used to start the company. So I started off with one employee who was a carbon fiber technician that used to work at Boeing, and
Okay.
just started growing from there and started adding more people over the years, and now we're about 17 years in the business. I don't think it was anyone individually. I was always passionate about cars, even ever since I was a baby.
Right.
My father's not really into cars, so it wasn't him. I think the first time I really started falling in love with cars is watching the show Knight Rider. The Porsche 911 was very ahead of its time. Even back then, it was punching way above its weight class, and it was on par with the performance of a Ferrari or a Lamborghini back then. And it has that German engineering where everything is very reliable, and you can daily drive the car every day without a lot of fuss. I think the fascination of these air-cooled, Porsches today is really because of how analog and how the air-cooled engine sounds compared to the water-cooled engines. It's really just a driver's car. There's you and the car, and there's nothing in between. No computers and gadgets and any controls that are in between. Disrupting that connection between you and the car. Cool fan. That fan is really what that noise. And also you have a lot less technology gimmicks that are basically diluting that engine noise on the water cooled. So I think a big part of that comes from the fan. I absolutely agree. The cockpit is really designed around the driver. The positioning, the steering wheel, the shifter, where the dashes are, and everything is ergonomic. Even if you compare it to a modern car today, I can name modern cars today that are designed based on aesthetics, and ergonomics are absolutely terrible. You can't see out of the front windshield. You don't know where your front bumper is. I think Porsche has really mastered the art of ergonomics and driving position for these cars. I mean, we touched upon the exhaust sound and the analog driving feel of the car, which is really going away today in modern cars. Cars are becoming more and more computerized, and you're really losing the connection of driver to car.
Right.
Feels like the car is driving itself almost by, via computer. The other thing is the air-cooled Porsches were actually the perfect size. So you get into modern car today, it feels like a boat compared to an air-cooled 911. So I think the size of the 911s up to the 993 were really the perfect size. Then they started getting a little bit bigger and growing every generation. So I think size is one thing, which leads to weight, because the bigger the car, the heavier the car is. And it had that perfect size to weight proportion and the perfect ergonomics and the sound, all that combined with the fact that Porsche has really got like a sort of religious following to the brand. Unlike any other manufacturer, people are religious believers of Porsche. So you don't see that with other brands such as BMW or Mercedes. You don't see people that are that passionate about the brand. And I think Porsche has done a very good job creating not just modern cars, but constantly marketing the history of the Porsche brand and the older cars, and providing support for the older cars. And that's one of the things they've done better than any manufacturer in the world. Yeah, so we very intentionally picked the 993 because it's the last air-cooled 911, which is a very historical, monumental thing. And the 993 design speaks to me. It had much more of an aerodynamic shape compared to the 964. I heard that Porsche was actually supposed to put the water-cooled engine into the 993, and they had made all these aerodynamic revisions and suspension revisions to the car. It has the first car with multi-link rear suspension. And something happened financially at Porsche where they decided to stick back the air-cooled engine in the car. So it was essentially an air-cooled engine with all the modern suspension and aerodynamic, updates that Porsche did. So by a lot of Porsche enthusiasts, the 993 is considered to be the most beautiful 911 made to date. I think that from a historic standpoint, I'm a big fan of GT cars. That's where my passion is. And the GT car that started on the 993 was the GT2, which was a turbocharged car. They never, for some reason, Porsche had never made a GT3. The GT3 really started on the 996 platform, which was the first water-cooled engine car. So the idea sort of came where, what if Porsche had made an air-cooled 911 GT3 or GT3 RS? What would the car be like? And that was really the sort of genesis behind my idea of taking the 993 and going back in a time machine and saying, if Stuttgart had made a GT3 or GT3 RS, this is how we would imagine it would look like. That was really the genesis behind the whole idea. I've honestly wanted to build my own car ever since I was probably 5 years old. And so that was always my lifelong dream. And I thought the 993 was really the perfect platform to build it upon, because from a base standpoint, the 993 was so well engineered, the perfect size, still air-cooled, has all that analog driving feel. It's kind of been in my head, and manufacturing parts, carbon fiber, and wheels for the last 17 years at Borsteiner has really sort of given me the experience and the technical know-how to build my own car. So I really learned a lot from Borsteiner. The technology I took and experienced in that has been transferred over to Gunther Werks. Manuals, because it's an art form. I feel like it's my responsibility as one of the last generation of people that had manual cars around to sort of extend that and be able to understand and enjoy it, have the opportunity to really get involved with driving manual cars again. The car has their own quirks and advantages. So you don't really get that with an automatic transmission. You don't really see the personality of the car come through. Manual is a gateway to basically showing the personality of the car and the way it drives. So the first generation of these coupes, the naturally aspirated coupes, were only making 25. One of the reasons is, we have a factory here in Huntington Beach, and we can only produce one car at the most per month. So that's really 12 cars a year. So we can't really produce 50 to 100 cars because of the sheer production capacity and the amount of, labor and hands that are involved. The other thing is we wanted to keep our first car very, very exclusive. So we're stopping at 25 and not one more. We have been in communication with Porsche AG in Germany. And let's just say we have a friendly working agreement with Porsche AG directly. So we have everything on the up and up with Porsche.